Welcome to the Reins of Leadership, the podcast dedicated to helping you lead with presence and influence with trust. I'm your host, Merinda Smith, business leadership strategist, sharing actionable insights on mindset, EQ and energy uniquely illuminated by wisdom gained alongside my equine partners. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Reins of Leadership. It's been a really fascinating week and I spent some time yesterday with our little donkey who's a rescue, Thomas, who decided that the only acceptable pace was totally, just manic. And honestly, talk about a lesson in patience and letting go of my own agenda. It really got me thinking about something many leaders grapple with, myself included at times, that powerful urge to control everything. So today we're diving deep into that control freak tendency. We'll explore why we sometimes grip the reins so tightly, how it impacts our teams and our own energy, and critically, what our equine partners can teach us about finding a healthier balance between giving direction and developing that trust in our team and themselves in relationship. So welcome to the Reins of Leadership, the podcast where we help you lead with presence, influence and trust. Let's dive in. Now, before we get properly stuck into the topic of control, I wanted to share something with you. If today's conversation resonates, perhaps you recognize that feeling of needing to oversee something or everything, you feel the strain of micromanagement, or you simply want to create more trust and flow within your team, then I invite you to explore my Beyond Success program. It's a 3-month coaching journey and course designed to help you move beyond success and your limiting leadership patterns like excessive control by deepening your presence, understanding your energetic impact, and building strategies for influential, trust-based leadership. We delve into the core mindset shifts and emotional intelligence skills needed to truly transform how you lead. You can find all the details and enroll at merindasmith.podia.com/beyond. That's merindasmith.podia.com/beyond. Take a look if you're ready to lead differently. Right then, control. I vividly remember early in my career managing my first team and significant project. I was absolutely petrified of failure. My default setting was micromanaging everything. I checked every email before it went out or letter. I am that old. Dedicated every minor step. Basically tried to be everyone on the team rolled into one. My mindset was completely rooted in fear of mistakes, fear of not being perceived as competent, and my emotional intelligence, as I think about it now, was pretty low. And if I'm honest, I wasn't aware of the anxiety that was radiating off me or how it was making my team feel stifled, untrusted, and frankly, probably quite resentful. My energy was constantly frantic, poured into oversight instead of strategic vision. Now contrast that with the learning that I get from my little pony Jade, who is a Welsh Mountain Cross, and you would say that she's got a strong opinion or has strong opinions. If you tried to force her into you controlling every footfall and with having rigid tension on the lead rope, she would plant her feet and she would probably give you a strong hard nudge with her nose going, that is not how we work together. And it's not about her being naughty. She is just saying that you can't control me in that way. And so I had to learn that there was a different way of working with her. So at that moment when I realized this, when I first got her, I had to look within and go, well, what am I projecting out? And I've done a lot of work on myself. So this is many years since I was leading that team that I first mentioned earlier on. I took a deep breath and I softened my hands on the rope. Yet I was still focused on where I wanted us to go and what I wanted us to do. And I gave her calm signals for the direction that I wanted. And I trusted that she would manage the actual steps. And that is truly when we started working together. She became responsive, she was willing, and she even seemed pleased with herself. That was a proper light bulb moment. My desperate need to control wasn't helping her at all. It was actively hindering our progress together. And so it wasn't about dominance. It was about creating that partnership, that clear communication, and having that calm, confident energy. That pony, along with many of my others, has taught me more about effective present leadership than any management textbook ever did. So how do we apply these lessons from the paddock when that inner control freak wants to snatch the reins in our leadership roles? It boils down to a few key shifts in mindset and emotional intelligence and how we manage our energy. The first thing is to recognize the root and reframe the fear. So control often springs from fear of failure or judgment or uncertainty or even losing relevance. It's essentially a protective mechanism and it operates out of that scarcity mindset. Only I can do this properly. And the very first vital step is what I mentioned before, is that self-awareness, that noticing. And when you feel that compulsion to control, what's the trigger? What emotion is bubbling underneath? Is it anxiety? Is it impatience? You've got to get it done now. Or is it a fundamental lack of trust on the other? So human, horse, equine. Think about why a donkey might suddenly refuse point blank to cross a small puddle, or a horse, any of them. It's rarely defiance just for the sake of it. They may be genuinely scared of the unknown depth of that reflection that is coming up from that puddle. And it could be based on past negative experience. And if you force them to actually push through into that puddle, it's going to escalate. It's going to escalate their fear and their resistance, and it could result in something damaging. You've got to stop and think and go, okay, what's the root cause and how can I effectively guide them across? Similarly, we need to understand the root of our own need for control. So when you feel that urge for micromanagement rising, pause. Ask yourself honestly, what am I truly afraid of right now? Acknowledge that fear without judgment. Then consciously reframe it. Instead of thinking, if I don't control this meticulously, it will fail, try asking, how can I best empower my team to succeed here? Or what support do they need from me to handle this effectively? Shifting your internal dialogue from fear-based scarcity to trust-based possibility. Shifting your energetic signature. Trying to control everything is utterly exhausting. It depletes your energy, reserves, and creates a tense, anxious energy field around you that you can't see, but people sense it just like the horses do. So when you lead from a place of trust, empowerment, and clear delegation, just like I change my energy with Jade, it's the same in the workplace with your team. If you change your energy, then you're freeing you up to focus on higher level strategy and vision. Your team will feel this calmer, more confident energy too, which then creates this psychological safety and encourages them to perform better. Horses, ponies, donkeys, they're absolute masters at reading energy and intention. If you approach them feeling rushed, angry, stressed, or anxious, they're going to back up. Suddenly they're going to be tense, they're spooking, they lift their heads and, wide eyes, and they mirror your internal state with that uncanny accuracy. I've seen it time and time again in my leadership workshops with the ponies. So when you approach calmly, breathe deeply, project that quiet confidence, even if you have to act as if initially, they are then more likely to be calm, settled, and responsive. And I get told this daily whenever I enter my paddock. So if I rush into that paddock, they, react strongly. Yet if I enter with that calm sense of leadership energy, then it totally changes the dynamic in the herd. And it changes when I enter a room as well. So your team mirrors your energy. So here's a tip for you. And that is to practice that energetic self-awareness throughout your day. Check in with yourself. How am I feeling? Am I tense, rushed, feeling controlling? And when you do, if you are feeling any of those, then take 3 deep, slow breaths. Feel your feet on the ground and visualize consciously letting go of the need to manage every tiny detail. Before a meeting or delegation of tasks that you know might trigger your control tendencies, take a moment to consciously set your energetic intention. It could be like, my intention is to approach this interaction with trust and calm confidence. Letting go of minute control doesn't mean abandoning your responsibility of direction. And let me tell you, I know what that's like as well, because I've done that in my leadership as well. I've been either overly controlling or just totally let go, and they don't know where they are. So it's this total, backwards and forth, and the team just don't know where I am. So it means strategically shifting from dictating the how to clearly and compelling communicating the what and the why you want to have done. And then genuinely trusting that your team will be able to achieve those goals. It does require high EQ to tailor your communication effectively and to build on that foundation of authentic trust. Let's look at it from an equine point of view. If you're asking a pony to navigate an obstacle course in an arena, you don't physically pick up and place each hoof. You give clear direction and consistent signals, and maybe a light tap on the rein or whatever it is that you're doing. You're giving guidance, and yet you're trusting the pony to use its own intelligence, balance, and athleticism to manage the actual steps, the strides, and the jumps. You provide the framework, the guidance, and the encouragement, and they provide the execution. This builds a true partnership and boosts confidence in both horse and rider and in your team. So be crystal clear on the what, the outcome that you want, the purpose behind it, the why, and any boundaries or parameters or resources available. Agree on reasonable check-in points. Then, and this is key, step back. Actively resist the urge to jump in and take over unless you're explicitly asked for help. You can ask supportive questions like, what support do you need from me to move forward? Instead of, have you done it exactly this specific way I imagined? Because they don't know what you are imagining. Let them have some creative license, and you never know, it might be better than what you came up with, because I've found that in my life. Right, we've covered a fair bit of ground here, much like working with my ponies. If you take nothing else away from today about loosening that grip and taming that inner control freak, inspired by our 4-legged teachers, I want you to remember these 3 core ideas. 1, recognize your root. Understanding that underlying fear that often drives your need for control, just as you'd seek to understand why a pony is hesitant. Self-awareness is key here, and it's the first step to shifting your leadership mindset. 2, shift your energy. Remember, controlling energy drains. Trust empowers it. Your team mirrors your energetic state just as acutely as a horse mirrors the person in the paddock. Breathe, ground yourself, and consciously choose to lead with calm, centered confidence. And 3, build partnerships, not dictatorships. Focus on communicating the what and the why with clear clarity and conviction, then genuinely trust your team with the how. Guide with presence and clear signals, and try not to force every single step. Letting go of excessive control isn't a sign of weakness. It's a demonstration of strategic strength, of high emotional intelligence and sustainable leadership energy. It frees you up to focus on what truly matters in your business, and it empowers your team to step up, to innovate and to grow. If you feel ready to exchange that tight controlling grip for a more trusting, effective lead rope in your own leadership practice, I'd be delighted to support you. Do check out the Beyond Success program, the 3-month coaching journey and course that we talked about at merindasmith.podia.com/beyond. You can also find other resources and details of upcoming workshops on my website, and that is www.merindasmith.com.au. And listen, if you found value in today's episode and the Reins of Leadership, the most helpful thing you can do is hit that subscribe or follow button in your podcast app. Even better, please consider leaving a rating and a review. It genuinely helps other leaders and business owners discover these conversations. You can also connect with me, share your own leadership insights, or perhaps your own equine teaching moments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining me on the Reins of Leadership. Remember, the best leaders lead with presence and influence with trust. Until next time, keep leading with purpose, presence, and perhaps a pocket full of pony nuts or carrots. As my beautiful pony king would say, bring on the carrots. Thanks for joining me on the Reins of Leadership. Remember to lead with presence and influence with trust. Subscribe for more insights and find resources at merindasmith.podia.com.